So compliance rolls out, what is it, next week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how are you feeling about the release? Are you excited?
We were just sort of talking about that. I mean, we're really excited about the movie and really proud of it. The reactions to it have been somewhat polarized. You know, people, I think, critically sort of, you know, really love the film and like, you know, the filmmaking, the acting and everything. And some people are, you know, sort of up in arms about the content and things like that. So we're really excited and we're just curious about what the sort of reaction is going to be, you know.
But I think it's positive in the sense now that people have an idea of what the content actually is versus going into it blind. So hopefully people will do their homework and their research before, you know, going in and thinking that it's a comedy about middle America in a fast food restaurant.
Exactly. And it's nicer too now that it's just like, at least people are talking about it. You know, so many movies come and go and you don't remember them 2 minutes after you see them. So at least people are talking about it.
Sure. In light of the article that the movie is somewhat based on, and also in light of what's happened in the last 10 years where things have been exposed that we thought were fine, does this make you question authority in your own lives? We've all been taught to be good people, good citizens, follow the leader. But how does this make you now look at what is sort of shown as the right way to do things? Does it make you slightly question authority?
I think that it helps you in the sense to kind of develop your own moral code and kind of stick to something similar to that in every situation. And, you know, I think that it helps to kind of have a base and a foundation of what you know is right and not to stray too far away from that.
I think those of us that already question authority or have since our youth still do.
Always will.
Yeah, we all, you know, I mean, I come from a somewhat, you know, Catholic background and you know, I grew up in America, and there's just things about law and order that you obey, and things that you don't even realize. You know, even if you consciously, you know, reject authority, that you sort of like bow down to. But I would say that we all sort of have a curiosity about how these people could have done what they did, you know, in this situation, and we'd like to all think that that's not us, you know, even all those of us that made it. But, you know, I think where it gets sort of broken down a little bit is that it could quite possibly be any of us given, you know, in that situation. You never know quite what you might do.
Right. Sure. Remember how many people came in the door before one person finally said, this is enough?
Yeah, and I was just in Michigan with Michael Moore at his film festival, and he was just going on and on about it, you know. Some people walked out of the movie and he was like, well, they don't want to deal with the fact that they're sheep and that they bowed down to authority in the last 10 years in this country, you know, since 9/11 with all these wars and all these things. And of course, he's framing it in that way and it's sort of fit his paradigm. But in a way, it's kind of true. We've all sort of ceded some, you know, degree of responsibility and bowed down to authority in the last 10 years in this country. And, you know, it's maybe not a surprise that the actual events that this is based on have taken place in this period of time.
Sure. Dreama, for you, some of the scenes were, you know, probably difficult for an actress to do, especially given what you were supposed to wear. I know there was
not to wear.
Exactly right, the apron. As far as you know, maybe parameters on the set, did you have certain requests? I know Lindsay Lohan was asked recently, TMZ, about her scene, and she wanted everyone to sort of be in their underwear and so she could feel comfortable. Was there any type of...
Well, Lindsay Lohan and I have a lot in common. No. You know, I mean, of course, I initially, you know, when I started acting and realized that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, was kind of anti-nudity in the sense that I never wanted to be oogled or sort of looked at that way, which is why this actual situation and the content of this film spoke to me, because it wasn't like that. And, well, you know, I mean, obviously the issue spoke to me, but I thought it was a better way to do it. You know, Craig and I had a lot of conversations about it, and I felt very comfortable with him. And, you know, we were just kind of like a little family. We had a lot of night shoots. We were exhausted, and, you know, we had a lot of delirious jokes, you know, and we felt very comfortable. And, you know, I felt okay, and I didn't make anyone strip down to their underwear because we were in a warehouse in Brooklyn and it was very cold.
Oh,
yeah.
That would have been rude.
And lastly, you talk about career and longevity. It seems like in LA, the secret to a long career is keeping a good mental attitude. to weather the ups and downs of the business. What do you do to keep that mindset?
It's not always easy, and I've been here a lot longer than Dreama has, just because I'm older. But
well, and I've been here a year, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, I mean, I've been on Earth much longer than you have.
No, that's not true.
But I think that, yeah, I think that there's a sort of attitude that you write the narrative of your own life, and you sort of can write the narrative of your own career. There are going to be external circumstances that you don't control. There's jobs that I'm not going to get offered, you know, the roles that Tom Cruise gets offered, you know, and I know that and I recognize that, even though sometimes...
You need to jump up on a couch. You need to jump
yeah,
up and down on a couch.
I need to go crazy. But, you know, I still think that I have consistently worked over a period now of almost 18 years and 14 years in LA. And it's only because ever since I was a child, I said, well, this is what I'm going to do, and I never deviated from that. And so even if I have a year where I don't work, I will, it'll come back again, you know?
Yeah.
And I'll weather those storms. And as I get older and I know that they're coming, then it's easier to weather them the more that I've been through them.
Yeah. I think it's also just about, like, having some control about what projects you pick and let into your life, you know? I think it's, you know, navigating that ship and making sure that you're on a trajectory that will have the same end result that you hope. And yeah, I try very hard to only be a part of projects that, you know, I think are cool and, you know,
I think
will help me.
We've both been lucky that way to do things that we actually would. I mean, at a point in our career when we weren't necessarily able to choose what we were doing, we both have done things that we would choose to do, you know, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.